Record on computer.
Yeah.
Good day, everybody. This is Laura Fournier with Nations Lending. We are a full service lender. We take you through the whole process, all the way through servicing, and you'll be a borrower for life with us. So you always have access to me the whole time you have your loan. And today I want to welcome in Michael Kurchaniak, and he is on the realtor side of the transaction. So welcome, Michael. Introduce yourself and tell us about your company as well.
Thanks, Laura. Michael Kurchaniak, Macintosh Realtors, and been in the business for over 20 years now, and truly a joy to help buyers and sellers out. Really looking forward to today's topic, Laura, because I kind of want to pick your brain about the importance of a pre-approval. I'll be happy to share with you and the audience how important a pre-approval is for me as the realtor representing a buyer. But I thought first, maybe, Laura, we talk to you about what is a pre-approval, how long does it take, how involved it is, and if you could just maybe set the table for that, then I'll kind of jump in about its importance in real estate.
All right, awesome. Well, loan pre-approval is super, super important to having a good transaction, a smooth transaction, because what we're really trying to do is make sure that we have all the elements of a loan when we do that pre-approval. So there's different kind of grades of a pre-approval. And the first one that you'll hear about, which probably more people know about, is pre-qualification. And generally speaking, when you go to your bank or your credit union, you're going to get a pre-qualification. And that's just, you'll fill out the application. Most places nowadays do a web application. And they take that information that you filled in on that form, and they just see whether in general terms you qualify for a loan. And they'll say, okay, we're going to give you a 30-year fixed FHA loan. And that's kind of where it ends on a pre-qualification. So that is very kind of like Swiss cheese. It has a lot of holes in it.
Yeah, I know. I've seen some pre-qual letters, or as we say in the biz, pre-qual, that it says, hi, John and Jane Doe are pre-qualified with us for X amount, pending the following conditions. And there's like 19 different conditions and stuff. So I understand why you said it's kind of like the Swiss cheese of letters.
It is very, they haven't done any due diligence. There's been no verifications done. There's no paperwork that's been received. And it's basically just what you've typed in. And many times the buyer has typed in, they've answered all the questions, but they've left a lot of detail out of that. So it's very, very broad, and they're going to just say, in general terms, you're going to qualify for whatever, 300 on an FHA loan. And the buyer's kind of left there going, oh, great, I'm pre-qualified, I'm ready to go. But in essence, there's a lot of things that can happen with that. So the next level up from a pre-qualification is a pre-approval. And with the pre-approval, the lender is generally, we're going to do a little more in-depth interview with the buyer, talk to them about what they've submitted in the application, and we're going to ask them to provide some paperwork. Maybe we'll get the W-2s and some paycheck stubs, a couple bank statements. And with that, we've done a bit of verification, and we can go a little bit deeper to say that the loan is pre-approved, that we've taken a little bit more look at it, trying to weed out potentially more problems that could come up. But even with that, there's some things that are left unsaid and left uninvestigated. You have to be very careful to talk to the buyer about whether, especially because of COVID, did they have gaps of employment? Because many people had big gaps of employment in 2020 and some in 2021 because of COVID, and they got temporarily laid off, or they weren't laid off officially, but they weren't making a paycheck, so they kind of were laid off, or they went from full-time to part-time. Also, you have to ask about if they're hourly, do they get a set amount of hours, 40 hours every week in and out, so it's a fixed amount, or does the hourly vary? Are they 20 hours one week and 36 hours another week and 32 hours the third week? So that's a whole different type of income calculation. So see, there's a lot of, I like to think about Thomas's English muffins with the nooks and crannies.
Yeah,
There's a lot of nooks and crannies that have to be looked into on a mortgage application, and the buyer's just typing their stuff in, and yes, they've been with whatever XYZ company for 3 years, but they had a job gap of 6 months in 2021 because maybe they were out sick or something. And so what you see on the application isn't necessarily the whole picture until we start doing that deeper dive. And
right,
so pre-approval is a step up from that pre-qualification, but at the same time, we haven't taken quite as deep a dive as if we went to the third level, which is a loan approval. And this is where the agents really like to hear,
yes,
see the big smile on his face, because a
yeah,
loan approval, we're, or at least when I do it, I'm asking these questions. I'm really doing a deep interview with the buyer. I'm getting more paperwork. I'm doing a written VOE, which is verification of employment, with the buyer's employer. And then that's when we pop up, when we get that back, with that job gap, or, a leave of absence, or, the start date wasn't quite what somebody remembered, that sort of thing. And then I know I need more information and maybe a little more documentation. So that loan approval, we also run through what we call automated underwriting, which is through Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac, and we get a loan approval. And that's
right,
really, most lenders don't go that far. The majority of lenders stay in the realm of pre-qualification or pre-approval. I like to go to a full loan approval with the automated underwriting approval, and that way you're out happily shopping with confidence.
right. And let me ask you this. We live in a society where everything is instantaneous. You can go online and type in your salary and whatnot and get this instant approval online stuff. But tell me and the viewers, how long does it take to just do a pre-qual, do a pre-approval, and then get the loan approval? Does it take days, weeks, or walk us through that?
A pre-qual and a pre-approval can easily be done in half hour,
Oh,
15
okay.
minutes.
Yeah,
If
yeah,
they can type in the web application, that's 5-10 minutes, and maybe less depending on their typing skills. And I can look at it, in a couple minutes, pull credit in a couple minutes, and get that done real quick. The loan approval, as long as they can upload their documents, can be almost as quick. And a lot of times, even the verification of employment can be done through these services, Work Number. A lot of employers are signed up with that. And we can even get those back very quickly. But I'll probably say, you're at like an hour, because uploading documentation can take a little bit longer depending on if they have to scan it and all of that good stuff. And
right.
it's a little bit longer to look through it. It can take longer, but if everything is very clean and neat, maybe an hour, hour and a half. If
Mm.
it's if I'm asking for more paperwork, then you can get into anywhere from that day to a few days if there's like some complications or job gaps and different things like that that we want to
Or
be real about.
even an identity conflict. I've had a few through the years where all of a sudden Jane Doe has this credit hit, and it's like, no, it's that one in Topeka, Kansas, not me here in Maryland, kind of
Mhm.
thing. And so it's just something that has to be worked through when one goes through the loan approval process, right?
Yes, this can happen very often if somebody is a junior or
Mm,
a third or a fourth. It happens to my husband all the time. He
yeah,
had to
yeah.
explain why he had a house under his name, and it's like, if they noticed it was purchased in 1962 and he was like 10 months old.
Right, right. So I'll say this from my perspective. Um, it's not a hardship that if someone is intent on buying a home, it's not going to take months. It's not even going to take weeks. It really won't take that long. If your intent best to do it up front, then me showing them a property, falling in love with it, and then finding later that there was something wrong with their credit, or there was some employment gap, or something that, not having gone through the loan approval process, will just burst someone's balloon,
Right.
and they won't get that house because they're still dealing with something they could have done up front.
And I'm working with buyer right now that had that exact thing happen, and they got denied in the process, and it's late in the process. And now I have the loan approved, but we did it all up front before they're back out shopping. Because I know it sounds tedious, but it's better to do it up front and go out shopping with confidence than to have your heart basically ripped out of your chest when you get a denial or you get postponements. And these are all things that could have been taken care of up front. It's horrible for the lender as well, being a lender, but it's really terrible for the buyer because, they just don't know. They don't know all of these things, but we know, and it's very important to do it up front. So I like to do all the work up front so it makes the process smooth out, because there's enough things that can come up anyways and do come up that, sometimes we don't see or we didn't get to it, but it comes up later. But
Yes, and if there is one takeaway from this video, that is just get it done up front, get the pre-approval, because I don't want to be reduced to nothing more than a chauffeur where I'm showing houses and I think that they qualify for a house, that these houses we're looking at, and then find out later that we don't.
yeah.
Better to do it up front.
Yeah, and
Um,
most lenders do not do loan approval. They do
mhm,
pre-qual or pre-approval because they don't want to take the time to get to the loan approval stage. We have one more step that we will take a customer, and this is if I have some real questions, if I'm putting the picture together, but they're still quite not sure how the underwriter is going to see it, or self-employed borrowers, I every time I send them to underwriting and have them underwrite the file for income, and then we have loan commitment, which is the highest level that you can get. And that loan approval or loan commitment level, most lenders will not do that just because it ties up their team and their time, especially when you're doing the loan, going actually to the actual underwriter, who's the person that signs their John Hancock at the bottom with
yeah.
that loan approval. But we will take that step, and I think it's very important to do that. And how do you feel like on your side when you see the different levels of these letters that you get? How does it impact how you help the buyer?
So that's a great question. And now I want to provide two perspectives. First, from the buyer's perspective, when I have somebody who has a loan pre-approval, then they loan approval, then they will they just rise to the top with me, because I have full confidence that you've looked at it, Laura, and you're like, yes, Michael, yay, verily, go ahead. This is what they are approved for. Work down off of that. You and I don't want our clients to be house poor. So even if they are loan approved for $900,000 or $300,000, we're going to look at something a little bit less, because we want to make sure that it still fits within their household budget. So that, from a buyer's perspective, it just provides so much confidence and provides me with another arrow in my quiver to present the best offer to the sellers. Now the second perspective has to do on the listing side. If I'm representing a seller and we're still have low inventory right now, Laura, and we're still seeing multiple offers, if my clients and I have 5 offers in front of us, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 2 are pre-qual, 2 are pre-approved, and 1 is loan approved. Now we look at the totality of the offer, of course, but if I see a buyer has loan approval, I will tell my sellers, let's look at this one very seriously and deeply. Let's look at the rest of the offer, but they're in far better standing and far fewer roadblocks between now and settlement than the first 2 are pre-qual, and even the next 2 that are just pre-approved. And this helps me counseling our sellers. And sometimes, because of the strong letter, Laura, they will accept that offer, even if it might be a little less in terms of net profit, because the peace of mind of getting to a smooth settlement is far more important to them than the other offers that came in.
Yeah, because a less firm buyer it hasn't gone through all of that upfront work, that can fall through far more easily, and some mishaps that can come up. And when the seller would have to put their house back on the market, would you say that damages the seller in the long run, as far as other offers maybe?
It sure does, and it will cost the sellers money, Laura, because if you think of it, if a contract falls through, well, let me take a half step back. When we go under contract, then we take it off the market. There might be opportunities for more showings, might be opportunities for backup contracts. But if we take it off the market, fewer people will see it, because the third-party websites won't pick up those houses that are now under contract. So it's important for sellers to know that if it does go under contract, no more showings really. And if it does fall through, well, you've lost a couple weeks there in terms of having it on the open market. You're going to have to pay the next month's mortgage, so you're going to lose money there. Better to have that a buyer with a loan approval, so that you can at least know that the buyers have done their due diligence. And if they've done their due diligence for that, Laura, then they'll do their due diligence during the inspection and appraisal process, and then on into the settlement.
Yeah, for sure. So from what you're saying, am I gathering that it's true that having that loan approval also helps you negotiate for your buyer when they're out shopping for their home?
Absolutely, because many times when I submit an offer, I will include a summary of the highlights of the contract. And I will make sure that in bold and yellow highlight, it says loan approval, not pre-qual, not pre-approval, loan approval. So that I will tell the agent verbally. I'll put it in the email and put it in the offer summary. And your loan approval letter is first and foremost there when I submit an offer. And really, in this market, the only way that could be beat is if there's some strings attached, which we try not to, some contingencies, but maybe somebody who comes in and proves that they can make a cash offer on the house. That's the only way. Otherwise, the loan approval is almost sacrosanct. It's just so strong. that it's going to be fewer, speed bumps on the way to settlement.
Which just makes it a lot better for the buyer, because then they can be doing the fun part with you, looking at houses and mentally moving their furniture and, thinking about that party they're going to have and how they're going to enjoy the backyard and all of those fun things. They've really done a lot of the stressful work up front, and it really
Yeah.
makes the transaction much, much nicer.
Yeah.
So one other thing I thought of with getting your loan approved helps me help you and the buyer with structuring their loan, because I'll know what the buyer needs as far as money wise, loan product. Do they need a little bit of seller help? We haven't seen a lot of seller help over the last years with the robust market, but with it tapering back, pulling back just a little bit, we're going to probably start to see where we can get a little bit of seller help. And if the buyers that needed seller help that couldn't buy over the last year or two, maybe they can get in now, and I'll be able to tell you, because we've done all this work, they need a little bit of seller help, and we can talk about how to kind of work that offer so it's advantageous for the seller and the buyer.
That's a great point, because there are differences between the FHA and conventional and even a VA loan or whatever, and we can save all those for another video. But by knowing how you structure their loan helps me articulate it to the listing agent, and by extension the sellers, to say, hey, listen, FHA loan, but they're going to put X amount down. They're not asking for seller closing costs help. We've been through this many times. Not going to be an issue, unless there's something none of us know about. So that communication between you and I is paramount, because then we put our clients' best interests forward and can defend to the death that they should get the house that they want.
We're like gladiators in the ring.
Yeah, I'm Russell Crowe with the shield and the sword and stuff. That's me.
We're going to be battling for the safety of our buyers every single time. No doubt about that. So just quick about paperwork, the basics of the basic are, 1 month, 30 days of paycheck stubs, your W-2 forms for the last 2 years, and a couple months of bank statements. That's the basics. If you are 1099 or you have a business, then we're going to need your tax returns. If you file personal and corporate, we need both sets. That's where we get into a lot of extra paperwork. But just the basics are paycheck stubs, bank statements, and W-2s. And so most people have that right handy on their, computer. Everybody has gone paperless, and you can get those things for us very quickly, upload it safely and encrypted right into the web application, and then we can do these things very quickly. But you want to be thorough, and you definitely, by both perspectives, on the real estate side and on the lending side, you want to get loan approval. Take the extra steps up front. It will save you time and a lot of heartache. And Michael will be able to negotiate the very best offer for you when you do that.
Thanks, Laura. And I just want to say in conclusion that it is in my terms, a confidential conversation that my buyers will have with you, Laura. I don't get involved in the monies. I don't get involved in the finances. I'm involved with the sticks and bricks of things, right? So that confidential conversation that they have with you, Laura, just stays with you. I just hear it on the back end and say, okay, Michael, our clients are loan approved for X amount. We'll work off of that. And then that's when I come in and say, okay, let's go forward. So just want to emphasize the confidentiality of all of that. So Laura, thank you so much.
Thank you. It was great having you, and it was a great topic today. And I know that all the buyers out there are going to really find this very valuable for them taking their next steps towards home ownership.
Awesome. Thanks,
Make
Laura.
it a great day. We're gonna be recording something else informational for you next week, so stay tuned. Thanks, Michael.
Thanks, Laura. Bye-bye.